Hello everyone and welcome to the first day of action at the 2022 Fischer Random World Chess Championship Finals in Reykjavik, Iceland. Today, Magnus, Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura started their campaign, and in the first round they beat, respectively, Fedoseev and Bluebaum, but in the second round they were paired up against each other, and Hikaru with the white pieces opened the game up with the move b3. Alright, so with the move b3 he opens up his queen, and he's stopping black from moving his g-pawn to open up his bishop, and Magnus plays the move g5. Alright, so Magnus hangs a bishop as early as move 1, but let's have a look at what happens if you actually take it. If white takes, black plays the move knight f6, attacking the queen. White's only square is the g7 square, and black goes rook g8. The queen can still go here, and now you do not play the move rook g6 because the white queen escapes and white's up a bishop and is therefore winning. But black plays the move d5. And there's simply nothing you can do about black going rook g6 and trapping the queen, because the bishop controls the square. Well, quite amazing. I haven't ever seen this, where you can hang a piece on move 1, and it actually works. But for that reason, Hikaru played the move bishop e2. Alright, Magnus traded, and now played b6, opening up his own queen. And here Hikaru made a bit of an inaccuracy. He should have played the move knight f3, attacking the pawn. And it's not that clear what black is going to do. If you go g4, white goes knight h4. And black has weakened his kingside somewhat, and white should be quite a bit better with d4, c4, knight c3 to come. But Hikaru played the move f4. Alright, quite understandable, he wants to open up his rook. But here Magnus goes g4, and all of a sudden the question becomes, how do you bring this knight in g1 into the game? It cannot go to f3, cannot go to h3, and black will also get quite a nice diagonal to work with here. Alright, so Hikaru played played knight c3, bishop e7, and e4, sacrificing a pawn in the center. Magnus took it, takes, and now Hikaru played knight e2. So his idea is to go for a very quick g3, attack the queen, and get some compensation. Again, because black is not developed yet. So Magnus here came up with quite a fascinating move. He played the move g3 to try to bury this bishop. So Hikaru took, knight f6. Now if black gets another move, maybe he wants to go knight g4. And again, I don't see how this bishop is coming to life. So Hikaru played the move g4, sacking the pawn, takes, and now g3. Again, he wants to open up this bishop. So queen e6, long castles by Hikaru, queen f6 by Magnus. Now, according to the computer, apparently white is fine after a queen trade, and let's say bishop f3 followed by rook h1. But who wants to go into an endgame down a pawn against Magnus Carlsen? Nobody. So it's quite understandable that Hikaru played knight c3, also a good move, knight c6, and rook de1, activating the rook. Queenside castles by Magnus, queen a3, a nice move by Hikaru. He wants to go maybe queen a6, also put pressure here. And Magnus played a5 to stop the queen from coming here. And here, a move like knight e5 is not that good because you hit the queen, hit this, but black has the move queen a1, checkmate. So don't do that. And here Hikaru had an option. He could have played the move queen a4 had he perhaps been in a slightly more combative mood. The queen can go to b5, maybe to a6. And again, black has some light square weaknesses around his king. Maybe after potential king b1, there can be knight b5, and all of a sudden, also with this bishop looking down, white creates quite some threats against the queen, against the king. But Hikaru decided just to take here. Now Magnus recaptures and get back the pawn on e7. And Magnus goes queen d4, attacking the pawn on d2. So Hikaru played rook e2 to defend. h5 by Magnus. And around this point, I mean, white might have a slightly better pawn structure, but this knight on g4 is pretty active. The pawn on g3 is also a little backwards. So the game should be completely balanced. Hikaru played queen to g5, attacking this pawn on h5. Knight f6, he played rook to f3, activating the rook. Rook to g8. Now, maybe Magnus' only chance to fight for an advantage would have been rook to e8. But again, the position looks pretty even, Steven. I guess the idea is that if white takes, you can take here, and you can take here at the end with the knight. But anyway, Magnus played rook to g8, attacking the queen. Now king made check. King stepped aside, king b2 by Hikaru. Rook to d5. Obviously, you cannot take, because your king will be in check, so rook e5. Takes, queen d6. Queen f5, queen e6. And after this queen trade, again, it's pretty clear where this game is headed. Hikaru played the move knight e2 to guard his pawn once more. Knight g4, knight d4, attacking this pawn. Rook g6, f5, takes. And the position simplifies more and more. And after knight e4, Hikaru played d3. Magnus took here. And so we get into a rook endgame with 4 versus 4 on one side. So clearly nothing is going to happen here. And so this game ended in a draw. So not the most exciting game, despite the very interesting start with this move g5, hanging the bishop on move 1. But anyway, this game ends in a draw. So let's move on to the next game between these two players. Because just to give you guys some background in terms of how this tournament works, the players will play matches of 2 games. And if you win a match, you get 2 points. If you tie the match, you get 1 point. If you lose, you get 0. And you need to finish top 2 in your group. Alright, so again, given the fact that Hikaru and Magnus won their first matches, they were already in a good position. But let's have a look at the second game of this match. Alright, so Magnus opens the game up with 1 b4. Now no g5 by Hikaru. He just plays the move d5. g3 by Magnus, opening up his bishop. And here the move c6. So Hikaru has quite a solid center. The one thing I don't like though is that I don't quite see how his queen will come into the game. Alright, so Magnus played bishop g2. That is that he wants to go knight f3, but he doesn't want to be hit by an annoying bishop h3. And now you have to go rook g1 and you lose the right to castle. So he goes bishop g2. And here, believe it or not, the best move according to the computer here for Hikaru would have been the move g6. Attacking the queen. And if you take, again, knight f6, attacking queen, queen g7, rook g8. And after g5, the queen is getting trapped, so black is better. Hikaru did not go into this. He played a more solid knight f6, a4, and now g6. Magnus goes knight f3, knight a6 by Hikaru, attacking this pawn over here, and Magnus defends it with bishop a3. So I kind of like Magnus' approach. He also opens up his queen on the queen side, but he grabs a little bit more space with the pawns on b4 and a4. Knight e4 by Hikaru, attacking the queen. So Magnus goes here, and knight d6. d3 by Magnus, stopping the knight from hopping into the c4 square. Short castle. And here Hikaru makes quite a committal decision. He goes for the move b5. Alright, so again, he wants to bring his queen a little bit more into the game. Potentially attack this pawn, maybe create a b5 square for his knight or the b7 square for his queen to attack this pawn. He also could have played the move b6, but I understand that maybe he was worried about white going c4. And it would be annoying if this diagonal opens up. Also, maybe this diagonal opens up. So the move b5 is quite understandable by Hikaru. Alright, Magnus goes queen b3. Now Hikaru takes and goes queen b7, bring his queen into the game. c3 by Magnus, defending this pawn over here. And bishop d7, creating this discovery. So Magnus steps out of it with queen c2. Rook c8 by Hikaru. Now he's ready to go c5 and open up the c-file for his rook. Also his knight will come into the game. So Magnus plays the move d4 to stop all of that. But by doing so, he gives away quite some squares. Knight c7, nice move by Hikaru. The knight wants to hop back into the game. Knight bd2. And here Hikaru made a bit of an inaccuracy. I think he should have played the move bishop f5. And it's not clear where the queen is going. In the game later on, it went to b3. But here black has the move a5, which pretty much solves all of the problems. Because if you take black as a nice tactic with takes, and bishop c2, and black wins on exchange. Alright, and if you go, let's say, to a2, then black has queen a6, which is quite unpleasant, because you attack this pawn, and you also have this because the pin on the a file. Alright, but Hikaru started off with knight cb5 first, bishop b2, and now bishop f5. But now Magnus can go to the b3 square. Because again, after a5 takes, his queen is not hanging over here. But Hikaru played the move queen c7, attacking this pawn. Black is down a pawn, but it doesn't seem easy for white to hang onto this pawn over here. Magnus played the move queen a4, and also look at the clock. Magnus had quite a hefty time advantage. He's up 3.5 minutes on the clock. Rook a8 by Hikaru to attack the pawn. Rook a1 and rook fb8, creating some threats towards his bishop on b2. But Magnus just goes rook f to c1. And here Hikaru probably should have just taken up the challenge and take this pawn on d4, with the idea that if white takes, you take this bishop on b2. Now I understand that maybe he was worried about rook takes c6, but it appears that after queen a7, black is doing pretty well. I mean, bishop d7 is a threat, hitting the rook, which would be pinned to the queen. Also, you have some pressure towards the pawn on d4. The rook is pretty active on b2, so black seems to be doing alright here. But Hikaru played the move knight to e4. And it feels like now white's just up a pawn. Magnus took. Here, the move c4 would have been really good for white, attacking the knight and bringing the rook into the game. If black takes, you just recapture. And again, I don't quite see the compensation for black. If you go knight d6, attacking the rook and the bishop, white can just go rook b4. And white seems to be up a pawn, and it's quite a relevant pawn. This pawn on a5 is going to become really strong in the next couple of moves. Alright, but Magnus goes knight at d2. Also a good move. Exchanging the bishops. Now Hikaru goes c5 to put a bit more pressure on this pawn over here. And perhaps discouraging white from playing the move c4. Rook c2 by Magnus. This move seems to be fine. And now a bit of an odd decision. Hikaru closes down the center and also his attack of the bishop on the pawn on d4, but he plays the move c4. And the bishop on b2 is a little bit passive, but this does give Magnus a bit of a free hand in the center. Perhaps it would have been better for Hikaru to play a move like rook a6, and again, put more pressure on his pawn on a5. But anyway, c4 was played, knight f3, nice move by Magnus, knight a7. And here bishop c1 would have given Magnus a big advantage. The bishop is coming to f4, attacking the queen, attacking the rook. Again, you still have this very strong pawn. Maybe the knight will hop into e5, and it's very difficult to see how black is holding on here. But Magnus played bishop a3. Alright, this also seemed fine. e5, a great move by Hikaru, creating some counterplay in the center. Takes. And here, perhaps since Magnus was getting a little low on the clock, he's down to a minute, he made an inaccuracy. Now, had he played the move rook d1 here, the position is still very problematic for Hikaru. There's no real great way for black to defend this pawn over here. Because if you go knight b5 attacking this and this, white just goes bishop b4. And again, there's no way to defend this, because if you go rook d8, you hang the knight. If you go queen c6, you hang the bishop. So white is just winning here. But Magnus traded off his knight for the bishop, which seems very tempting, right? Because black has weakened the dark squares around his king, and he followed up with bishop c5. Right, so he's attacking the knight. Maybe the bishop wants to go here. Everything seems great, but now Hikaru played the move rook to b3. All right, he's attacking this pawn, but with this move, he also created another threat, which, unfortunately for Magnus, he missed. Magnus should have played the move f3 here, and if black takes, you can take, and after rook b1, white keeps a big advantage, because this knight on a7 is kind of passive. You have rook b7 coming in, the a pawn is still very strong, and black doesn't have a clear plan. Like rook b7, queen e7 is coming, and black is just lost. But Magnus played the move a6, so he thought like, okay, I'm gonna sack this pawn on c3. Again, maybe after that rook b1, rook to b7, everything looks great. But here Hikaru played the move queen e4. Oops. Check, and you just lose a full rook. Magnus played king to g1, shaking his head. Hikaru captured the rook, queen to d7. Magnus tries to play on, but a rook is a lot of material. So Hikaru traded off the rooks, played queen b5. He wants to trade off more pieces, which will make his task easier. Magnus played queen to b7, a nice little move, because after takes, your rook is under attack, and you will have to give up the knight. But the position simplifies a lot. And so we get into this endgame where black is up in exchange. Maybe white can hope for a fortress because this bishop defends this pawn. But with so many pawns on the board, it's very unlikely. Hikaru activated his king with king f8, g4, king e7, g5, king e6, f3 by Magnus. So if Hikaru goes here, he wants to build up a bit of a wall with h4, and it's not quite clear how black is breaking through. But Hikaru just played rook b1, e3, and king d6. He wants to go with his queen to the b3 square, and after rook c1, he wants to sacrifice back the exchange to transition into a winning king and pawn endgame. So Magnus goes king g3, king c6, king f4, and now a very nice move by Hikaru. He goes rook f1 to stop this king from coming up, because then you will always hang this pawn over here. And after h4, Hikaru played king b5. Again, there's nothing white can do. This king will just march up the board. Eventually, black will sack back the rook. And so Magnus resigned. A very unfortunate loss for Magnus. He seemed to be doing well up until that blunder. But yeah, a very nice win for Hikaru. He is now leading the group. Again, he only needs to make top 2 to make it into the knockout phase. And so he has great chances to make it. But at any rate, I hope you all enjoyed this video. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next one.